when the strongest alien in the academy chose to humiliate a human girl. He had no idea he was challenging someone who had already survived war. The silence inside Hall Magnus was unnatural. 5,000 cadets, representatives of over 100 species, sat, frozen as the combat arena's gravity field disengaged with a low, humming sigh. Energy shields dimmed. Holographic banners flickered. Every eye, compound or crystalline or multifaceted, was fixed on the center platform. On one side stood Crax Vorthane, 7 feet tall, broad as a war tank. Skin like layered obsidian plates, etched with natural runes earned through ritual combat. 4 arms, each corded with muscle dense enough to bend reinforced steel. Yellow eyes like burning coals. The Academy's strongest, undefeated in 3 consecutive cycles. Top-ranked in strength, endurance, and lethal efficiency. Feared, admired, untouchable. On the other side, a human girl. She looked painfully ordinary. Shorter than most cadets. Slim frame. Dark Academy uniform, hanging loose on her shoulders. Brown hair tied back without care. No visible augmentations. No armor plating. No weapon in hand. Her name glowed faintly above her head, in neutral blue glyphs. Mara Hale. Human. Civilian conscript. A murmur rippled through the stands. Why is a civilian here? Humans don't even rank above Category 4. This is a mistake. Crax tilted his massive head, studying her like one might inspect a defective training drone. Then he laughed. The sound was thunderous, deep, mocking, amplified by the arena acoustics. It echoed off the walls, until even the instructors shifted uneasily. So, Crax said, his voice translated instantly into every language. This is the human they warned me about. Laughter followed. Alien cadets clicked mandibles, hissed, chittered. Even some instructors allowed thin, indulgent smiles. Mara Hale said nothing. She stood with her hands at her sides. Come still, eyes forward. Crax took one heavy step closer, the platform trembling under his weight. I asked for a challenge, he continued, circling her slowly. Instead, they send me prey. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that his shadow swallowed her whole. Tell me, little human, he said softly, cruelly. Do you understand where you are? Mara lifted her gaze to meet his. Yes. That single word, quiet, steady cut, sharper than a shout. Crax blinked once, surprised. Then he grinned, baring serrated teeth. Good, then you understand this humiliation will be remembered. He raised one arm and gestured to the audience. Observe, he announced. As I demonstrate the difference between a species built for war and one that survives only because others allow it. The Academy rules permitted non-lethal dominance displays. Crax intended to make this one legendary. Mara's heartbeat was slow, not because she wasn't afraid, but because fear, to her, was an old companion. She remembered louder explosions than this arena's hum. She remembered screams that no translator could soften. She remembered holding a rifle too big for her hands while the sky burnt green. The Academy smelled like sterilized metal. War smelled like iron and smoke. This place was quiet. Too quiet. Crax lunged to the audience. It looked mercifully fast. He would knock her unconscious in one clean strike. End the farce. Mara moved. Not back. Not sideways. Forward. She stepped inside his reach. Gasps erupted. Crax's strike whistled past, where her head had been a fraction of a second earlier. She twisted, her shoulder slamming into the joint beneath his second arm. Anatomical weak point few species knew existed. The impact echoed like a gunshot. Crax staggered. Just one step. But for the first time in 3 cycles, the strongest alien in the Academy lost balance. Silence crashed over the arena. What Crax roared in fury, and swung again. Faster, harder. Mara ducked, rolled, came up behind him. She didn't strike, she whispered. Too slow. Her knee drove into the back of his leg. Something cracked. Crax dropped to one knee, shock flashing across his face. The audience erupted into chaos. That's impossible. Humans can't generate that force. Check the gravity field. Instructors leapt to their feet. But Mara wasn't finished. She stepped back, hands raised, breathing steady. She wasn't trying to win. She was sending a message. Crax pushed himself up, shaking with rage, and something new, fear. You, he snarled. You struck dishonorably. Mara tilted her head slightly. There are no honorable strikes in war. That word, war. The translator hesitated, then emphasized it. The room fell quiet again. Crax stared at her, truly seeing her now. The scars. Small, faded lattice-like marks on her wrists and collarbone. Old shrapnel wounds barely visible beneath Academy fabric. Not training scars. Survivor scars. Explain yourself, Krax demanded, though his voice lacked its earlier certainty. Mara looked past him, past the arena, past the academy walls. For 3 years, she said, my planet was invaded. No dramatics, no raised voice, just facts. We didn't have shields like yours, or fleets, or allies who arrived in time. Images flickered on the holoscreens, unintentionally archival data bleeding through, as if the system itself was listening. Burning cities, collapsing towers, civilians running. I learned to fight, Mara continued, because the alternative was dying quietly. The academy had trained killers. Mara had been shaped by extinction. Krax took a step back. Just one. But everyone noticed. You chose to humiliate me, she said, eyes locked onto his. That means you chose to test what survived when everything else failed. She clenched her fists not in threat, but in memory. And I am still here. The dual alarm bled, match suspended. Investigation required instructors rushed forward. Medical teams surrounded Krax. Security fields flared between them. But Mara didn't move. She simply stood there, waiting. The crowd, once mocking now, watched her with something dangerously close to reverence. A human. Not enhanced. Not bred for war. Not protected by an empire. Yet unbroken. As she turned to leave the arena, one thought echoed through every mind present. The strongest alien had fallen to one knee. That single moment changed the academy forever. Whole Magnus was still echoing with shock when the instructors moved. Energy barriers flared brighter, separating Mara Hale from Krax Vorthane. As medical drones descended like steel insects, Krax was breathing hard. Not from pain, from disbelief. This duel is suspended, barked Instructor Vaylor, a tall avian species whose wings bore the silver markings of high command. All cadets remained seated. No one listened. Whispers exploded into shouts. Data slates flickered to life as cadets replayed the footage from a dozen angles. She stepped inside his strike radius. That knee technique, where did she learn that? Krax has shattered armored beasts twice her mass. She didn't hesitate. Mara stood alone on the platform. She felt none of it. Applause, fear, curiosity. All of it washed past her like distant static. Because the moment Krax had lunged, she hadn't seen an alien champion. She had seen the streets of New Carthage. 3 years earlier, Earth the sky had been the wrong color. Not blue, not gray, green. Mara remembered that detail clearly. The first bombardment had turned the atmosphere sickly, poisoned by alien exhaust and burning cities. Sirens screamed until they died, either from damage or power loss. She was 17, too young to enlist, old enough to pick up a weapon when the local defense forces stopped responding. Move, move, someone shouted. She didn't remember his face, just the blood on his sleeve and the way his voice broke halfway through the second move. They ran through alleys while buildings collapsed behind them. Something screamed overhead metal, tearing through air, and then the street ahead vanished in white fire. Mara woke up, buried under rubble, her left arm pinned, her right hand still gripping a rifle she didn't remember picking up. That was the day she learned something important. Fear never leaves. You just learn to move with it. Galactic Academy Security Wing. Mara didn't resist when 2 security officers approached her now. They were careful, not hostile. Careful was new. Cadet Hale once said, voice neutral, you will accompany us. She nodded and followed. As they walked, she noticed the subtle change around her. Cadets stepped back. Some stared openly. Others avoided her gaze entirely. A reptilian first-year whispered to his friend, she didn't fight like a human. Mara almost smiled. Inside the observation chamber, the instructors were already arguing. That level of combat efficiency is impossible without augmentation. The gravity field was stable, no manipulation detected. She violated no academy rule. She humiliated Krax Vorthane. Instructor Vaylor raised a clawed hand. Silence followed. Bring up her file. A hologram flared to life. Mara Hell species. Human origin. Earth classified zone. The word classified blinked in warning red. Several instructors exchanged looks. That shouldn't be restricted, said Dr. Kelm, a cephalopod strategist whose tentacles twitched uneasily. She's a civilian conscript. Vaylor's beak tightened. Apparently not. He overrode the lock. The room went quiet as data poured in. Images, reports, casualty figures. Then a number. Earth casualty rate. 61% of pre-invasion population. Someone swore. That's not possible, whispered Kell. No developing world survives that. Vaylor scrolled. They didn't, he said grimly. Not intact. Footage appeared. Human cities turned to glass. Improvised fortifications made from buses and concrete. Civilians fighting alongside soldiers. Children acting as runners. And there, a still image. A young girl in ash-covered clothing, eyes hollow with exhaustion, rifle braced against broken masonry. Facial recognition tagged her instantly. Subject, Mara Hale, age 17. The room felt colder. She was a combatant. One instructor asked. No, Vela said quietly. She was a survivor. Medical wing, Crack's Forthane. Crack sat rigid on the medical platform as drones scanned his leg. Microfractures, internal bruising. Damage consistent with heavy military ordnance. From one knee strike, the medic drone reported. Crack's fists clenched. This academy dishonors itself, he growled. That human concealed her nature. Another voice answered from the doorway. No, Vela said, stepping in. She concealed nothing. Crack snarled. She is not what she claims to be. She is exactly what she claims to be, Vela replied. Human. Cracks turned, eyes blazing. Then your academy is flawed. Vela met his gaze evenly. Or, he said, your assumptions were. He projected the casualty figures into the air. Cracks stared. The numbers meant nothing at first. Then context loaded. Planetary population. Duration. Invasion scale. Cracks' throat tightened. No species fights after losses like that, he said slowly. Vela's voice dropped. They do if surrender means extinction. Silence stretched. You humiliated her, Vela continued, in front of the entire academy. Cracks bristled. I demonstrated dominance. Vela leaned closer. You challenged a warforged survivor in peacetime and expected her to break. He straightened. Instead, you reminded the galaxy why humans were quarantined. Cracks' eyes widened. Quarantined. Vela didn't answer. Detention observation room. Mara sat alone. A simple chair. Neutral lighting. No restraints. She had been here before. Not this room, but rooms like it. Rooms where people decided her future without asking her opinion. The door opened. Instructor Vela entered alone. He studied her for a long moment. Do you know why humans were not meant to attend this academy? He asked. Mara shrugged lightly. Because we scare people. Vela exhaled slowly. Because you adapt too quickly, he corrected. Because you endure losses that should erase you. Because when pushed far enough, he stopped. Mara finished it. We stop asking for permission. Their eyes met. Vela nodded once. The council will convene, he said. Some will demand your expulsion. Others will want experiments. Mara's jaw tightened. I won't be anyone's weapon. Vela surprised her by bowing slightly. That, he said, may be why you're dangerous. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Cadet Hale. Yes. The strongest alien in this academy now fears you. Mara looked down at her hands. Soft hands. Callous palms. Hands that had pulled people from rubble. Hands that had buried more than she could remember. I didn't come here to be feared, she said. Vela nodded sadly. That, he replied, is how it always starts. Outside, across the academy network, a single question spread like wildfire. If one human survivor can do this, what happens when the rest are allowed to stand? Far beyond the academy walls, dormant sensors stirred. The Galactic Council chamber was built to intimidate. Ceilings stretched so high they disappeared into darkness. Gravity fields subtly shifted to accommodate species from crushing worlds and fragile atmospheres alike. Holographic constellations rotated slowly above the central dais, a reminder that this council claimed authority over half the known galaxy. Today, every seat was occupied. Because of one human girl, Mara Hale stood alone at the center platform. No restraints, no weapons, no armor. Just a simple academy uniform and a posture so calm it unsettled even the oldest counselors. Whispers crawled through the chamber. That's her. She doesn't look dangerous. That's what makes it worse. At the highest tier sat the Triarchans, ancient beings whose species had shaped galactic law for millennia. Their voices carried weight enough to end civilizations. The central Archon leaned forward, its form shifting like living starlight. Cadet Mara Hale, it intoned, every translator struggling to keep up. You stand accused of destabilizing Academy order, humiliating a ranking champion, and revealing restricted wartime capabilities. A pause. How do you answer? Mara lifted her chin. I followed your rules, she said evenly. I defended myself. I did not escalate. A ripple of discomfort moved through the council. Because it was true. The Archon's light dimmed slightly. Your file, it continued, was sealed for a reason. Images flared across the chamber. Earth, before, after. Green skies, burning oceans. Cities reduced to skeletal outlines. The casualty numbers appeared again. 61%. Even now, the figure drew gasps. You were not meant to be here, another Archon said, voice cold and precise. Humanity was designated contained species after the war. Mara's eyes hardened. Contained, she repeated. You mean ignored? A murmur spread. The Archon's tone sharpened. Your species demonstrated extreme adaptability, resistance to psychological collapse, and refusal to die. Mara interrupted quietly. Silence fell like a blade. She took a breath. When the invasion came, she said, no one answered our distress calls. Not the Council. Not the academies. Not the empires that now judge me. Some counselors shifted uncomfortably. You labeled us volatile, Mara continued. Too emotional. Too persistent. Too unpredictable. Her gaze swept the chamber. So you quarantined us. Watched. Waited. She clenched her fists. We buried our dead without your permission. From the observation gallery, Crax Vorthane watched. His leg still ached, but that wasn't what twisted his gut. It was shame. He remembered the way he had laughed, the way he had assumed. And now seeing the scale of what she'd endured, his victory records felt hollow. The strongest alien in the academy had never fought extinction. Cadet Hale, the Central Archon said slowly, your survival is statistically anomalous. Mara met its gaze. So is humanity. A dangerous spark passed between counselors. Another Archon spoke, voice edged with calculation. You are proposing what, exactly? Mara didn't hesitate. Let her stand. Confusion rippled. Stand. The Archon echoed. Stop hiding us. Stop pretending we're a problem that goes away if you look elsewhere, she said. Judge us by our actions, not your fear. A counselor scoffed. And if humanity turns its resilience against the galaxy? Mara's answer was immediate. Then you should have helped us when we asked. The chamber erupted. Arguments overlapped. Translators struggled. Gravity fields fluctuated with emotional spikes. Finally, the Central Archon raised a limb of light. Silence returned. There is another matter, it said. During your duel, long-range sensors activated. Dormant systems tied to the Earth invasion. Mara's stomach tightened. A massive hologram bloomed. An ancient alien sigil. Crax sucked in a breath. That's a Dominion mark, he whispered. They destroyed worlds. The Archon's light darkened. They have noticed you. The room went cold. Your performance, the Archon continued, triggered old war protocols. To them, you are no longer a survivor. A pause. You are a signal. Mara exhaled slowly. So they're coming. Yes, the words echoed. A counselor hissed. This is why humans were quarantined. Mara turned toward the council seats. No, she said. This is why we should never have been. She looked back at the Archons. You can exile me. Silence me. Erase this incident, she said. But they will still come. And when they do, she straightened. You'll need people who don't break. The chamber was utterly still. Then, something unexpected happened. Crax Vorthane stepped forward into the open. Gasps followed. I speak, he said, voice rough, as champion of the academy. The Archons regarded him coolly. You were defeated, one noted. Crax bowed his head. Yes, he looked at Mara. I mistook restraint for weakness, he said. I was wrong. He turned back to the council. She did not fight like a monster. Crax continued. She fought like someone protecting what little remains. His voice hardened. If the Dominion returns, I would stand beside her. The admission stunned the chamber. One by one, other voices joined. Instructors, strategists, veterans, reluctant, careful but present. The Central Archon was silent for a long time. Then, very well, it said. Light flared. The quarantine on humanity is lifted. Shockwaves rippled through the chamber. Humans will be recognized as a provisional allied species, the Archon continued. With full academy access. Mara's breath caught. And you, the Archon added, focusing on her, will serve as liaison. Mara blinked. Me. You are already a symbol, it said. Whether you wish it or not. The chamber light shifted. Prepare the galaxy, the Archon concluded. Humanity is standing. The academy changed overnight. Human cadets arrived by the hundreds. Not conquerors, not saviors, survivors. They trained hard, adapted faster, asked uncomfortable questions. The galaxy watched with a mix of awe and dread. Mara stood on a balcony, overlooking the training fields. Crax joined her, quiet. You could have destroyed me, he said. Mara shook her head. I didn't need to, he nodded. Far beyond the stars. Dominion fleets adjusted course. For the first time since Earth burned, humanity was not alone. And the galaxy finally understood the truth. They had not contained a threat. They had ignored a warning.